Yo, finally I can get to recording this beautiful aircraft here, guys. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Cash, and today we're in the amazing Flight Sim Studios E-Jets, right? So externally, I'm not sure what all this is. GSX maybe? Fenix Logistics, yeah, I think so. But today we are in Flight Sim 2024, hence the reason for the walk around. And we are in the Envoy livery, which is in November 291, November. We're flying out of Miami today, and we're heading down to Key West, where we will test or put this through its paces. I have tested this, I'm on the beta team, so a lot of the releases I am aware of it. A little bit more texture detail needs to be done here. And then we do have some of these ghost movements which needs to get fixed or polished up a little bit. But they wanted to release it quickly to the public so that they could have something for Christmas. I'm not doing this. This is not my thing being done like this. This is mainly just little bugs that they have not yet, creased out. But yeah, so we're parked here in Miami at forgot the gate. It should show up here. So we're parked at the gate here in Miami, and we are going to be operating out of this. So yeah, I've already gone ahead and inputted the necessary information into the EFB here, the tablet EFB. The aircraft is powered up, and we are pretty much getting ready for us to get out of here. I'm flying under American Airlines Virtual today, and this is going to be a monitored flight. So I just need to get my ACARS pulled up. Okay, there we go. Our crew center is being pulled up. Gotta get out our smart cars, and let's go ahead and check our flight information. Okay, so let's send this to our ACARS. Miami, so it's American 4223. We're gonna start that flight right now. And then we're gonna file this on VATSIM because we're gonna be doing a VATSIM flight today. American 4223 is our call sign. We do have a cell call, that's interesting. I've not seen that before in the E-Jets. However, there's a lot of different extra things that they've been adding in the background as well. Alright, let's go E75 long wing. Remove that cell call. I'm not going to add a cell call here today. And then we're just going to go ahead and check for a departure. Today we're runway 8 right for a departure, which is always 8 right. Runway is dry. Check the weather information here. We're going to calculate that. And then no GSX connection here, so let's just make sure that everything is checked. Operator, Alright guys, so sorry about that, I got a little distracted there for a sec. Now, one of the things that you would have to do once you get set up in order for you to get connected to your sim brief is you would need to go to the nav page right here, because you would need to enter it into the sim brief. I'm not sure if that is specifically for me because I still am on the beta build, but you would have to go to the nav button right here. Normally you will be somewhere in between route or so. You click on nav, and then where it says data link, you hit data link, and then you hit addresses. Now where it says flight plan here, or exactly where company address is, you're going to enter your sim brief username. Alright, there we go, and that's pretty much it. If we hit on route, we can send the route request. Alright, let's use our airplane fuel system. Alright, let's do for route. We're going to Key West. Our flight today is 4223. Okay, so this is not going to work for me because my flight ID did not change. Alright, there it is, it changed now. And we're just waiting for the request to come through. In the beta build, it was a lot faster and a lot easier, a lot quicker than that. Yeah, it's missing. Okay, some things did not work the way that it should. This is where it needs to go, but alright, let's see here. We're gonna have to enter everything in manually, it looks like. Let's do our departure, runway 8 right. Let's see, what's our main R3 to main R. It's gonna be so difficult, bro. Alright, we'll let it. Download this. Main R3 to main R. Then we go over to Fantasy, and then we're doing the Fantasy 1 arrival. Runway 09er is in use. It's going to be the R now. And let's see, from Vane. Yeah, so we're just going to do this from Vane. It's going to be the Fantasy 1 arrival. Alright, we're going to apply that. Yeah, you're annoyed. Let's see. Let's put in Fantasy as our next waypoint, FNTSY. Unable to cruise altitude. Let's go through our performance here. Performance in it. I'm going to send the request. Go to the next. Cruise altitude up to 100. Our fuel is being loaded, so we just gotta wait. Currently GSX is loading fuel. And the aircraft is still doing its thing. Alright, so our fuel today, I need our sim brief. Flight information, so let's see. Alright, so 6400 is our blocked fuel. We gotta put that in. Alright, let's go back to perf. Our takeoff. We can do our takeoff in it right here. And this is basically the VNAV. This button does work now, so when you push it, it will, well, it's from what I've gathered, it is automatic, so this is gonna work automatically when you are operating the aircraft, so this is always going. Okay, so now the thing is, all this is supposed to be done automatically, so all the flight plan information is supposed to be loaded in without me having to load anything in. But for some reason, it decided to handle me the wrong way. Alright, so while we wait for 6400 on our fuel, we are just going to go through a couple of things here that, need to note. Again, I am on the development build of this, so this isn't very funny. This is not very funny for me. Alright, let's go ahead and hit settings, calibration. Yep. Alright, we're gonna have to make some adjustments then to our controls. Why does this have to happen? The world may never know. Alright, there we go. I do have a profile. That profile works most of the time, so it gets me into reverse for sure. But number 2 tends to mix around whenever it needs to. I would need to go into idle for number 2. Need to get that fixed. But for now, we're leaving it as is. What typically happened was I was having issues with my A350, and I ended up uninstalling my entire flight simulator. Which was not necessary, and I went ahead, uninstall the entire simulator, which means that all of my control bindings were lost. I could not retain it. I couldn't do anything, so I had to go back and redo all of my controls. And with each control that I changed, it messed it up even further. And I did not have a profile stored for it. So, no. Yeah, let's go with the crew. Thank you. All right. So hydraulic pump A is set to on. My checklists are nowhere nearby, but I'm just gonna go through it with the best way that I know how. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, our takeoff config does not work. This was disabled by the Flight Sim Studios team. If you guys are wondering why, again, I am on a dev build, I am on a beta build or a closed beta build, so all this is not gonna be working. Certain things, like for example my EFB2 may not be working. It may be working for you guys, it won't be working for me. And let's see. Alright, so the fuel is loaded. And let's check for our... No, I don't want that. I hate when that happens. Okay, let's go. Check our departure. Let's do a ground. Payload, 0 fuel weight, everything looks good. Now we can go through the lengthy process of going through our boarding. We're gonna go ahead and start up our APU. And right now it's just the long, lengthy wait. Not much to do. I'm gonna get up so I can get my checklist. So we have at least have a lot more to do. So just give me a sec, guys. Right, so I found everything else except for the checklists. Oh well. Again, this is something that is because of the beta build that I'm on. So let's see, we need, our squawk is 5173. Let's go ahead and input that squawk. So hit the radio. That's in our transponder there, so that's good. 18.3004 for Miami. One to 2.8 for CTA frequency. And we are pretty much just on standby now, waiting for them to complete their baggage loading. Then we're all set. Chocks are on. A Delta 53. That's cool. Yeah, we're 11 minutes late. I know. I don't care. We'll still be on time. Maynard 3, runway right. Maynard 3. It tells you. I like that. And it did show the cargo and the boarding. I don't think all this information is actually shown. But it's good to have that information at least. Alright, here we go. This is all the VNAV data. Again, I found everything in there except for the checklist for my flight sim, FSS, for my E-jets. I found the ATR and I did not find the E-jets, which is interesting to me because I'm not sure where I left it. Everything was placed in one place, so it being missing now is highly suspicious. Unless someone came in here, ducks are not to blame, but someone came in here and took my stuff. Oh well. Okay, so we're on APU now. We can go ahead and disconnect our GPU. So we're gonna get that off. And we're just gonna go through, we already have our cockpit flow. We already, did all that we need to do. We're gonna go ahead and run a fire test. There we go. So our fire test is complete. We have no TO config, so we can't do that. For lots of testing, we are absolved from, mainly because of the fact that we are on the beta build. Alright, so our external lights are as required. APU is on. Thrust levers are at idle, speed brake lever is up, flaps are up, gear lever is down. And gotta close that out. Take that out from there. I know these are not supposed to be here, so the placards. Alright, so we're waiting for, alright, boarding is complete. Let's go ahead and prep for us to get pushback and departure. I'm gonna go ahead and turn our red beacon lights to on. Seatbelt signs are coming on. And also our no smoking and sterile cockpit lights. Door needs to close, please, thank you. Get ready for pushback. Alright, so our jetway was pulled out. Miami traffic convoy. 4223, we're pushing back off of gate Delta Flight 3. Alright, is our chocks still on? No, our chocks are off. Alright, there we go. Brakes are off. Pop that. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead, engine start sequence. For some reason, we do have some instances where there are, how would I say it? Lags or stutters, but that's okay. Alright, so our head and select for today, we're gonna select for runway 8 right. And if we take a look at our nav data here, our chart, let's go ahead. Airport info, 8 right is 092 on the head in. Right, so underheaded is selected. Alright, engine 2 in start mode, start sequence. Reversers are red. Brakes are set. Right guys, so just to let you know, I will be getting distracted now and then. However, the flight can still commence with no issues in terms of our doing and what we're doing in terms of our Miami traffic convoy 4223. We're taxiing to runway 08 right via Whiskey November Miami. Alright, so we're taxiing out right now to Alright, so we're continuing downward. Going down Whiskey here. This taxi is usually on Whiskey and Mike. But I'm taking Whiskey November because November is the first taxiway out. And as you see, well, one of the things that I needed to test was the brake systems on this. They didn't, I'm not sure if they still have the brake system to lock, but I'm gonna give it a test in a moment here. Okay, looks like it looks to be fixed. So that system looks to be fixed. We can test it out in further detail. Alright, let's go to map. We do have our TCAS as well, and we also have our weather radar. This works. So weather radar no longer covers this entire thing out. Before, that's what it used to do, but now it just keeps it nice and clean. Beautiful. Alright, we're on November now. I was gonna say something here. I was gonna switch over, but it does not look like we got a turn there, so we're gonna keep going, keep it pushing. Alright, we're on status. Just keep it here for now. Press on the brakes. Let's see if it locks. Yes, it does. It still locks. Alright, so the brake locking thing is still being done. Auto brake start, RTO. Alt selected, headed selected, and we're all set to go for this takeoff today. Hopefully it is going to be an uneventful takeoff. A lot of the bugs were fixed. But again, I'm still on a beta build, so you may see or experience or see some bugs that are still lurking or lingering around.
Miami traffic Air Canada route 1995 on Echo 257. Starting pushback facing west.
Miami traffic convoy 4220, we're lining up runway 08 right, Miami. Alright, here comes our lights on. Alright, logo inspect off. Strobe lights goes on. Brake locking is still active. And we're gonna turn on to the runway here. So before departure, you are gonna need to also engage the auto throttles. They automatically do engage once they go past a certain point, so that they can engage the flex D10, which I completely forgot to enter in here when we did our perfinning. So let's go to perm, take off in it. Our request has been sent. Let's do our takeoff data sheet. Air count is rolling a little bit, so we are gonna hold here for a second. Brakes are on. Alright, so we'll use flex takeoff. Let's go to sim brief and get that flex. Let's do takeoff performance, calculate. So takeoff for this 41. Flex the temperature 41. You have to enter this before. So there we go. We're all set for that departure, and we can go ahead and engage our auto throttle. it's engaged in takeoff mode. Miami traffic, convoy 4228, we're departing runway 08 right, main R3 departure, climbing initially to 6,000 Miami. Alright, so let's go. Get to get view through 40% N1. Takeoff mode. It didn't automatically
80 knots.
The throttles, but it's fine.
Rotate.
Right airport. Get moving up. So the aircraft is in takeoff mode, autopilot is engaged. We're in flight level change, and the flight level change is connected with the VNAV, so we are in that climb. Alright, flaps to 1. And flap 0. Landing traffic convoy 4223, we're airborne passing 2,400. Flight level 200. Alright, so let's go ahead and climb up. Flight level 200 is set. Flaps are up. Gear is up. And if you guys notice, it is calculated its VNAV climb performance as well, so that is good. Alright, we're going to switch over to Unicom right now. And we're going to hit radio. And we're switching over. As the aircraft performs its climb, it'll climb up based upon this flight path right here, and then we hit top of climb. So, yeah, pretty much. The only thing that I noticed was just the little oscillations in the beginning of the climb. But that's because, again, I'm using a beta build. This is not, well, basically I'm not on the released version or basically what you would typically have, but I'm on the beta, closed beta version. So certain things that you see here may not depict what you would have gotten on your end. And there we go. Acceleration. You know, that only happens with VNAV. With the flight level change, you would not have gotten that. But you can actually adjust the altimeters and so on through here, like this. So very unique as well. If you guys were not aware as to what you can and cannot do over here, you can actually adjust the comm and the nav here. You can switch over, but so you can adjust your head in, all these good stuff. Alright, so we're climbing fine now. We should be above, we should hit flight level 200 very easily. These lights are still on. Steering cockpit lights is off. And seatbelt signs, we're going to turn those off. Okay, guys, so if you notice, the aircraft did take us up to flight level 200. There are still the areas of oscillations which will be reported over to Flight Sim Studios in our beta channel, but the oscillations are a little bit much here. If you notice, the trims are going. One thing I can think of is most likely the turbulence, if I have it set to realistic. I'm not sure which I have it set to. I have not. I don't think I did adjust it because I figured that all the settings are saved already. So, yeah, not much. Alrighty, so now we're in the descent. We're just going to go ahead and engage in descent, and we're going to wait for the vertical track acquisition right there. And there it is. It actually acquired it, and it is going to start descending automatically, like every other VNAV that we have. sorry, one of the things that it also did was it busted through our turn there while in the descent. So it kind of, you know, goes beyond the track there. So that's something that I'm not sure if it's only limited to myself. I may need to swap out of the Beta Build 4 flights in 2024 and test this again to see if this is pretty much the same thing. So yeah, we gotta do a check on it. follow the charts on your nav charts. App. Forgot that space now right now. We're at Wilsall and we are headed towards Clunes. We have made Atnall. By Atnall we should be at 8,000 feet. Let's see. Let's check. Alright, so I think it should be a little bit better now. This aircraft is not going where it needs to be. let's do flight level change because alright, yeah, let's get this turned down for you guys. Alright. Let's turn this a little bit down. So I'm just turning down. I'm basically turning down the audio for the aircraft itself. So just let me know once it's in the best way for you. All right. So the aircraft again is not fully getting down the where I think it should be. Where it should be at 4,000 already. Awesome. All right. So let's see here. Ideally, we should be at vaned at 3,000. The aircraft is still at 7,000. It is way too high. But it is shown that it's following the flight path right here. We should be below it already. But again, this is just a short test flight to test what's going on, and then we can put this through to the beta channel. So again, on my point of view or my perspective here, I am flying a beta build of the E-Jets. It is released, but for me, there may be some inconsistencies or may be some differences, especially in certain updates that I get. So my build will be updated a lot sooner. And a lot of things may be quite different. Like for example, I don't have my second EFB, and my TO config does not work. My secondary flight plan does not work. These are things that are, by default blocked by them. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for clearing that up. I was thinking, why is it not at or nearby 3,000? So that is very good to know. 1,005 here on the selector. All right, click that and get down to 1.5. Okay, great. I don't typically fly down to Key West. I just use Key West as a thing, but yeah, that was my mistake. So looks like we are, well, at least it's doing what it needs to. Well, you learn something new every single day. Target, we're at faint again. It still overshoots the flight path here. This is an RNP approach. Alright, speed brakes are out. I was thinking about giving it some speed brakes, but I still wanted to find out how it handles the turns, but it does look like it's it kind of overshoots the turns at times. Let's see. We're gonna select our approach mode. LNAV, VNAV, and glide path has been initiated. Speed brakes out. Let's give it a degree of flap. Alright, that time it kind of turned. Okay, so if it maintains its speed, it pretty much does exactly what you need to do. Yeah, we needed speed brakes, but it disagrees. Yeah, trying to let the VNAV take a hold here. Again, I'm accustomed to flying this purely manually on any of the approaches that I do. Let's get some gear down. Let's get some more flaps. Flaps to 4. I've never tested X-Plane. I've never tested X-Plane. The thing is, I love the E-Jets, and I've been flying it for quite some time now. Mainly do it like, but the thing is, you have to appreciate that it's something totally different from the, it's something totally different. Yeah, gotta set that. So if you tend to just go fly an aircraft exactly like another, it's never going to work out for you. It'll always work out poorly. All right, so now we got our flap select 5. That's our landing flap selection. Speed brake, it's we don't really need to do that. That is automatic. We have our go around altitude is set. Our landing lights, let's go ahead and taxi lights are set to on. Speed auto brake is set to medium, and yeah, pretty much there. So the aircraft is, yeah, that's one of the things that I keep forgetting to do, is to set my go around altitude. Unless again, I don't have the check. I printed out my checklist for it and I completely forgot where I left it. I have my ATR checklist, my Airbus checklist. The Boeing checklists are pretty easy, so I don't really need to keep it. But I just cannot figure out where I put it. 1,000 feet, check. So we're making adjustments here. Now we're going to go ahead and prepare to fly this aircraft down manually. So we're at 124 for our approach speed. Gonna override. Auto throttle is off. AP off, and just gonna try to maintain the glide path here. We're adding trim. Get some rudder so that we could try to keep that, maintain that center line, and watch our speed as well. Yeah, I think I do have it on set to realistic turbulence. That's why we're kind of rocking back and forth there a little bit. Pull back on the throttle. And we're above the glide path. Rock. Continue. We're on glide. Oop, that was a hard landing there. I felt it. I kind of felt that landing. I kind of felt the bottom drop out on me, and I felt that landing for sure. And there it goes. It locks itself. So we do have the brake issue. The Yeah, that's the thing. I see them land here in Dominica all the time, so they typically flare pretty high. But the thing is, when they sometimes they attempt the flare and all of a sudden they just arrest the descent and they just keep floating across the runway, and then they dip the nose and then it just drops out. All right, so here we are. We're off the runway. APU is coming on. And the turn radius is real hard on this. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this off. Turn off the strobe lights. Thing is, I love the E-Jets. E-Jets have always been one of my next aircraft besides the A3s or the Airbuses, and I typically fly them pretty well. However, you know, learning the correct thing that or the correct procedures that you need to take, especially to do it, is something that requires a lot of time and skill. It's been a while since I've actually flown this, and yeah, but yeah, the flare option, whenever I see they flare here, they flare pretty high and they touch down. Sometimes they plant it, sometimes they touch down pretty smooth. There are lots of different yeah, like what I did there, that was not the sweet spot. I literally flared and I touched down on my right side first, so I felt it bump, which in and of itself made those, I know those passengers didn't like that landing at all. They did not appreciate my landing at all. I'm supposed to come and park here. Yeah, but was it there? No, I don't think so. Not sure where I'm gonna be parking in terms of Key West. Again, I don't come here often, so the parking spots for me are like I don't know exactly what to do and where to go. But did you know I do actually fly for Ryanair Virtual as well, and I have never every time I fly for them, I get scared that they would typically tell me that I land too soft just as a way to say, hey, you know, we need to do we need to go based upon the real world landings. But I have not flown for them in a pretty long time. I've seen them land here in Dominica in the Caribbean and burnt up brakes trying to stop because they flared and they touched down so smoothly. As soon as they got down on the ground, as soon as they felt they're on the ground, full reversers out, and they just go ham on the brakes till the brakes were smoking. They had to delay their takeoff for a few minutes, or delay their departure for a few minutes while they, make sure that everything is okay on their end. I work at the airport here in Dominica, so I see them do a lot of different things. Let's do some differential thrust for us to make this turn here. So I'm getting more power on the right-hand engine or number 2 engine so that the turns can be a little better for me here. Get some power off on the left. And here we go. Are we nice? Are we perfect? I'm not sure. Alright, we'll stop here. Perfect or not, it was still good. That's true. That is true. For once, I was actually thinking of going around, but I decided to keep doing it, keep going. All right, so we're off. Not gonna blind the ground crew. Seatbelt signs are going off. And I'm gonna take a look at my bad parking in a second. All right, so wheel chocks are coming on. I can request the GPU from GSX, so and we're getting handled by Silver Airways. And let's go ahead and request start deporting. All right, so if we go down here, let's go ahead to our radio. Let's turn off our transponder to standby. Everything else looks good. And battery one and two. Everything else is okay on our part. So the packs can disembark. I don't see any GPU yet. So let's just go ahead and engage GPU. GPU is on. Let's switch off our APU. And let's see how we got in there. If I kept going to the left, this is floating. If I kept going to the left, I would have actually, got it. But we are pretty much almost spot on. Yeah, actually, I live in Dominica, TDPD. That's where I fly this the most. I fly out of Miami to Dominica almost every time that I have my off day. So yeah, I have more experience flying into Dominica, a lot more on the E-jets than I have, flying to places like Key West. And yeah, whenever they come, they come through Dominica's couple of times in Dominica here. When they've flown in, I've seen them do some pretty wicked things coming in. I've seen them go around at certain locations where it's not pretty much feasible to do a go around, because you would typically have, well, we had some gusts that come over our mountains, especially when you fly down the valley. There are some gusts that come over the mountains, and they did a go around twice, making that round. Because each time they make that left turn to line up with the runway, there would be a gust that would that would just drop the left wing, or number one, or the port wing would drop it. The right wing would come up real high, and they would just have to go around. And I've seen them burn brakes down here as well. Um, I've seen a lot of weird things happen here, especially when you're working so close to them that you can see it on a day-to-day basis. It's a pretty great place to come and do plane spotting, but we're kind of anal about cameras and so on, so we typically try to stop persons from coming out and do anything. Okay, so the landing rate was pretty heavy again. They monitored it at 367. Yeah, so it was pretty hard. I definitely felt it. That was Ryanair landings all day, every day. My typical landing rate for this is about 70 feet per minute. Especially flying into Dominica, I usually do about 70 feet per minute, 80 feet per minute. The highest I've ever done before this landing was, I think, 144 feet per minute. This landing was a little bit harder than I would have liked. But again, I should have done that on Ryanair. But if we go back to our, oh, sorry, kind of blocked you guys. But besides the flying GPU right here, The aircraft again looks pretty good and it's pretty decent. Dirty, very dirty, but let's wait for him to grab something, turn and do what he has to do. But there's not much else that we can realistically look at. Again, Flight Sim Studios, although they have done a lot, they don't have any damage models or persistence models to really go ahead and do a walk around for the aircraft for. Would have loved that to. Yeah, you can. So yeah, they don't have a realistic damage model or anything that will allow for us to, be monitoring things like our flap tracks or our wheels, our brakes. Um, Fenix does have, you know, a model like that, but Fenix still does not allow for you to check the brakes. The brakes are still something that you don't get to check. Some of the things that I would definitely let them know is that some of the textures and the polygons look a little bit too blocky. Yeah, so they would definitely need to work on those. There is it missing? No, it's not. There it is. But this usually is somewhere lower down. Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit lower down, I think to the left, if I'm not mistaken. Because this was about here. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out if I remembered correctly as to, where certain things are at. But yeah, again, it for this aircraft, I'm gonna say for what they've released, they released it ahead of Christmas so that everyone can, at least experience and check out what they've been doing, so that persons don't say, oh, it's something that is a loss right now. But in terms of the VNAV, I see it operating, the right way. It does what it needs to do, and for someone like me, who again, it's the first time I'm realistically testing it. It's the first time that I'm realistically testing the VNAV. So to see it follow everything down to the letter, and I know there are certain aircrafts that when you allow them to follow VNAV, they don't follow it as perfectly. And this aircraft pretty much did the entire thing all the way down with no. And I would not say that it actually had any issues really. Um, it's pretty good, right? It's great, and I wouldn't just say pretty good. It's great. It operated the way that well, with minor little inconsistencies, especially with the oscillations and so on. We did have some oscillations in terms of capturing altitude and descending from altitude, um, and also the fact that it is very slippery, so it tends to keep the power in a little bit longer, or it mismanages its power. But besides that, yeah, this aircraft, I feel that it has a little bit more work, but it's great. They set out to do something, they fixed it, or they added it, and they kept it going, which is pretty good. So right now we are all set. If you notice that our cabin crew and everything actually deboarded, so this is going to be the only flight that I'm doing today with this. There are a little few more tests that I'm going to do. I'm going to uninstall it, and then I'm going to install the native version, which is not the beta version, so that I can give a more realistic review of it, because again, I'm reviewing a beta build right now. um, and if I want to give you the most realistic expectation of what you're going to expect, I'm gonna have to go ahead and install the regular build in order for you guys to get a more realistic feel for what it's like. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna hop back on, trying to redo it. I may depart out of Key West to Miami, and then we can see how we move forward there. But thank you guys so much for joining me on the flight. Again, it was pretty much how I expected it to be. So thank you guys for joining in. I hope you guys have a great day. And I'll see you guys in a little while again. Have a great one.